powerful typhoon swept across Taiwan, leaving behind news of great destruction. The storm was so fierce that even the traffic light in front of my house was torn down. This morning, though the sky was still filled with gray clouds, I put on my earphones, turned on a hymn, and walked along the seaside trail. The path was covered with uprooted trees and broken branches scattered everywhere after last night's storm. As I walked past the trees lying twisted on the ground, I thought to myself, how many years had these trees withstood countless winds and rains to hold their place here? And yet, before this one storm, they had fallen helplessly. The seaside path was so full of debris washed in by the waves that it was almost impossible to walk through. With a heavy heart, I kept going until suddenly, I stopped in my tracks, eyes wide open. What startled me was this. Among all the wreckage, I saw small patches of green grass and tiny wildflowers still alive. Even through the raging winds and terrifying storm, these fragile plants stood there as if nothing had happened, their leaves fresh with rain, quietly keeping their place. They must have trembled in fear throughout the night, yet somehow they survived. How could these tiny lives endure what the tall, strong trees could not? Meanwhile, the very trees that had endured storms for decades, looking so unshakable, were lying uprooted all around. The contrast struck me deeply, and my thoughts grew heavy. At that very moment, the hymn in my earphones began to sing. Beyond my limits, the Lord works within me. Even if I think my roots are deep, even if I look strong and immovable on the outside, I am still a being that can collapse in a moment. I had always believed that I would remain healthy, that I would be the pillar for my family, unshaken. But when illness came upon me suddenly, I fell apart helplessly. In that place of exhaustion where I wanted to give everything up, God spoke to me. If you can no longer carry on, why not entrust it to me? If you have discovered your limits, that is where I begin to work. The tall tree may appear strong, but it fell before the storm. The tiny grass endured the typhoon, yet it could just as easily be crushed by a passing foot. In the end, no matter how strong I may look, life is too harsh and heavy to live by my strength alone. It is God who works within me. Our lives often look strong on the outside but are actually weak, and at times what looks small and fragile proves to be resilient. We may overcome great storms, yet stumble over the smallest obstacles. Such is the weakness of humanity. Seeing myself in this way, I recognize my own limits, and at the same time I turn my eyes to God who works within me, because He never leaves me to face the storm alone. Through Him, the storm no longer becomes something to fear, but a time when I can expect to see God at work. God works when I collapse, when I am weary, when I can go no further. Just as the hymn says, all my steps are in the Lord. It is not by my own strength, but by the strength He gives me that I can walk each step forward. When I stand before a wall too high to climb, it is God who gives me the strength to overcome it. And so today I begin again, not with my own power, but with the strength of God who works beyond my limits. I cannot, but through the strength God gives me, I can. With His grace and power, I take one more step forward, walking in hope. This essay began with the image of trees uprooted by the storm and the wildflowers blooming beautifully among the ruins. And in that moment, the hymn Beyond My Limits began to play in my ears. I had sung along to this hymn countless times before, yet that day it felt as though I was hearing it for the very first time. We all have such moments, when a song we've always liked suddenly pierces our hearts in a brand new way, and we find ourselves thinking, I never realized this song was so beautiful. And when that song happens to be a hymn, we sense that God Himself is speaking directly to us. The grace and power of that moment is doubled, because the song becomes not just music we hum along to, but worship and prayer rising from the deepest part of our hearts. That day, in that very moment, Beyond My Limits came to me in just that way. For a long time, I had been worn down by the side effects of medication. So often I was too exhausted to do anything, and I found myself weeping out of sheer fatigue. Lord, how long must this go on? I have so many things I want to do, but right now I can't do anything. I'm too tired. I can't take it anymore. Those were my cries, not quite complaints, but not far from them either. And to me in that state, this hymn came as God's reply. Lean on me beyond your limits. Each line of the song began to pierce my heart. There is no wasted time in what the Lord has given. Even though I felt utterly weary, I realized that the time God has given me is never in vain. Though it may be hard to understand His will, I long to know there is purpose. I could not yet grasp God's reasons for allowing my situation, but I believed there must be meaning in it. All my steps are in the Lord, and my life becomes His story. If every step I take is in the Lord, then my entire life becomes a testimony that it was His strength, not mine, that carried me. The Lord works beyond my limits, and His great grace leads my life. Though I was too weak to do anything, God was at work beyond my limits, and His grace was guiding my life. He is Lord of the beginning and the end, so I entrust my whole life to Him. My life is not mine, but His. He is the one who holds both the beginning and the end, and I can entrust my entire life to Him. Though I am frail, though I reach the end of myself, though I face walls too high to climb, God is the one who works. So today I take another step forward, not by my own strength, but by His grace. I cannot, but through Him I can. By His power and love, I move beyond my limits, and I walk forward once again, in hope.
꼭 다시 살아라.